You read the title right. I do believe that Virtus.Pro is the most likely team to win Counter-Strike 2 Copenhagen Major in spring 2024. Now, why is this, you might ask? Well, it all boils down to this one single change Valve made not so long ago. They swapped the majors from AMR 15 to AMR 12. And I do believe this is something that will change the way Counter-Strike is played. And with the parenthesis, of course, if no other economical changes happen. But anyways, I believe that the next dominant meta in the game will be something we can call a save meta. Some could argue we already have seen it happen more and more nowadays. And frankly, I believe this is something that's only gonna get worse. Or better, depending what you like. But anyways, Virtus.Pro. Why do I think they're gonna win? Well, they have already mastered this style of play. They know how to maximize their own economy. They know when to save and how it's gonna affect the game in the long run. And every single top team hates playing against Virtus.Pro. They are so good at this that nobody wants to play against them. And what's even more frustrating for many teams, I think many teams have to actually learn how to play this way themselves. Well, they can just observe how Virtus.Pro does it and copy and paste, but it's not that simple. This playstyle can be just as jarring to play as it's just for us viewers to watch it. Imagine this yourself. You're playing your own matchmaking game. You're having fun. But then you're in the CT side and all of a sudden you lose the site. Okay, it's 3v3. What will you do? Save? Oh, okay, well, guess we're gonna try again next round. What happens next round? Oh, same situation. Another save. It can be really boring. You wanna go for those nice high-stake retakes where you shoot down all the team and win the round, being the hero of the server. It's exciting. But you know what's not exciting? Saving. I do believe this is gonna have a huge effect on people's and players' mental state, because all of a sudden you need to know how to be winning in the long term. You can't just go with the flow, win one round. No, you need to give up round, maybe few rounds, just to win few more in the long run. And this can be a hard shift to make. Just to elaborate how much Virtus.Pro already exploits this economic system with their tendencies, I'm gonna take a really brief look how they do currently in the AMR 15 system. And this is based on the match data I find from hltv.org, and it has some limitations. I can't really see how many people are alive after each segment, when each round when I go look back in these statistics, or if there's a way to look further, then I'm just not found it yet myself, but that's fine. So when I say a successful save, I mean it's a round that ended with either the bomb exploding or the team running out of time, depending on which side Virtus.Pro is playing. And it is possible that they failed to save and died after the time or the bomb. We cannot really see that. It's just when the round ended, how it ended. If the opposition exploded the bomb, that means Virtus.Pro was most likely saving or trying to save. And if Virtus.Pro ran out of time, I assume they saved. Whether they died or not, that's hard to say. So don't take this as 100% truth. This is just a trend I'm trying to show you. And if you treat this as a gospel, you might be following a false prophet. So keep that in mind. Anyways, let's get into it. This data is based on Virtus.Pro and their games from August 2023. And during August they played total of 16 games, which consisted of 38 maps total. On Counter-Terrorist, they played they won total of 235 rounds and lost 215 rounds, which means they won roughly 52% of their rounds total. Now, they saved total of 125 times of these lost rounds, which means that they managed to save 58% of the lost rounds total. And what happened after these saved rounds, they managed to win the following round 51 times, which means they won roughly 41% of the follow-up rounds after taking a save. And Virtus.Pro saved approximately 3.3 times per map as counter-terrorists. Now, how does this look for terrorist side? Well, on terrorist side, they won total rounds of 325 and lost 238. Their round win percentage was roughly 58%, and they successfully saved 47 times. So that's 20% of their lost rounds that they saved as terrorists. And they won 20 rounds after this. So 20 rounds after a successful save, meaning they had roughly a 43% chance of winning the follow-up round after a save. And in total, they saved 1.2 times per map, so let's round it nicely, once per map as terrorists. Now, that's the data, and I know it can be a little bit boring and confusing, so let me open it up a little bit. In counter-terrorist side, Virtus.Pro saved roughly 58% of the rounds they lost. So over half of the lost rounds were rounds they saved. And arguably they might have won some of those rounds if they went to retakes, but no, they decided to save. And that's a lot of saving, as you might have noticed as a viewer. Now, after a successful save, they have around 40% chance of winning the next round. And if we think about it like this, Virtus.Pro saves on average 3 times per map, which means they are likely to win at least one of the follow-up rounds after a save. It doesn't sound much, I know, but when the game is of the smallest of margins, each round really counts. And it's always better to go to a follow-up round having AWP or rifles than just pistols and a little bit of armor, if even that. And so, especially when we do the change to Armor 12, I think this is gonna be a huge difference on how the game is being played in the pro level. Because you don't wanna go on an eco when there's so little rounds left. And which team does not do really ecos that much? Well, Virtus.Pro, because they always save when they have to. Okay, anyways, how does their T side look like? Well, they are very less likely to save on their T side. And approximately 20% of the lost rounds are because they run out of time, aka save in this case. However, their percentage of winning the follow-up round after a save is a little bit higher on T side, which was 43%. Which, yeah, it's not a huge difference, but still, it's a little bit more likely than on CT side. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, since VP doesn't really save that much on terrorist side, and looking at the numbers, T side is often their more stronger side, which could play into this. They roughly win one follow-up after a save every 2 games. But that's just because they do it so infrequently. It's hard to give any more like a conclusive answer to that. But yeah, their saving is mostly focusing on CT side, which would make sense. It's easier to save as a CT side and keep your economy running, rather than T side where you have no loss bonus for the person saving. Makes sense. But yeah, all in all, this all could sound a little bit of confusing. And what you might be asking, what is the point of this whole discussion to begin with? Well, I wanted to show how Virtus.Pro already plays the percentage game and how they have perfected their craft in it. They are taking every small advantage they can, and in the game of smallest margin, this can be really beneficial and effective in a long run. This is why we see a lot of 30-round games from Virtus.Pro. It's because they play the long game so well. They know how to count each single round they have to and what they need to do to make sure that they win as much in the future too, which is really important. And this style is really frustrating to play against. And for many, it can be really frustrating to play yourself. It's not flashy. You're not gonna get many highlights unless if you're mowing the whole enemy team down on defense all yourself. So yeah, you're gonna have less highlights. You're not gonna do many cool retakes. It could be that we see very little retakes in this Armor 12 to begin with. And this can really frustrate a team who's not really versed on this whole save meta. And Virtus.Pro, they know how to save. They know how important it is to have your economics under control and how to avoid eco rounds, which are almost certain losses for most teams. And their personalities, they know how to play this. They are really ready to sacrifice their own comfort for the benefit of the team, which you need to be able to do as a professional player if you want to win more and more games. It sounds really simple, straightforward, and even intuitive, yes, but that's just not how humans always work. We don't want to do the tedious work. A lot of people don't want to do the long, boring, jarring things. We don't want to save. We want to have fun. We want to be able to do the cool things, go for retakes, and you can often see it from the players' camps. When they are saving, they can look really frustrated and taking like it looks like they're taking that it's taking a mental toll on them, which I would agree it probably is. So keeping all that on mind, I do think Virtus.Pro has a really good chance of winning the CS2 Copenhagen Major. And yeah, you might disagree with me, so please let me know in the comments below. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Why do you think so? I'd be really happy to hear your thoughts about the topic. Now, before I close it up, I have a little bonus section at the end, and I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna get more out of these Virtus.Pro games or slow-paced games as a viewer, because I do think we need to really keep these things in mind in the future, especially if I predict correctly how the Counter-Strike 2 is played with Armor 12 system. So, instead of focusing on the round-by-round basis, look the big picture. The team is not out of a game until the game ends. And sure, save rounds, they are very anticlimactic to watch. You don't like watching a save round. That's true. But if the team manages to keep their economy alive, there are less eco rounds. And arguably, watching gun rounds is much more fun than watching eco rounds, because those are just often something we need to get through to get to the more of the gun round and exciting gameplay. And yeah, that also means that we have higher chance of seeing very close games. We might actually reach the limit of 30 rounds or later on 24 rounds. And that's always making the last few rounds much more exciting. That's when all the saving is out of the window. There's no more saving when it's round 23, 24 or so on. That's all about pushing through the limits, making sure you either win, tie the game. It's high stakes, and that's where the excitement comes from. So I would just say, sit through the early game. If it's getting one of those boring stages, just get something nice to drink or eat on the side, then come back, kind of like half focus on the game early on, so you can full focus on the last few rounds where the magic happens. And that might not be so exciting, I know, but unfortunately I do think that's the future of Counter-Strike at the moment, until some economical changes happen. If some economical changes happen, you can pretty much scrap the whole video here. Nothing is gonna most likely hold true, but right now, I do believe that Virtus.Pro is very, very, very likely to win the first CS2 Major, and that CS2 is played with a huge savers meta. So, buckle up, get ready, and enjoy the slugfest.